Yeah, I really missed that we had a third maintainer available, and so we rearranged our setup. And welcome on the stage, Sebastian Schuster, Thomas Darimont, and Alexander Schwartz as maintainers. And hopefully we have a lot of questions for them, also from the internet. I will try to manage this with one microphone. Let's see.
So it's like we're on a hot seat here. Yeah.
No questions. Session done.
Oh man.
Ist das deine oder meine? Weiß ich gar nicht.
Okay. Okay, hi everyone. First of all, thank you very much for all the open source contributions. And now that you are maintainers and we are not, it's sometimes a little difficult to get into or to get the pull request, get feedback on the pull request. So my question would be, what could we as a community do to improve that workflow? Maybe with more automation, maybe yeah, I have no really good ideas, but maybe there's something that makes your life easier. Yeah, looking into contributions, getting back to the community and so on.
Okay, that's a very hot potato. All right. Yeah, so I know we have lots of open issues. We have also lots of open pull requests. And the good news is now and then, and hopefully more often, pull requests get merged from the community. So we have now a triage process that we're reviewing. So for example, when you open a new issue, it's untriaged. And we want to document this process more. I think that Stian opened this week a pull request for the docs that we have a defined process how we triage bugs. And as we then work on that process, we might even accept people helping us triaging issues of Keycloak. And we might have a similar thing also for pull requests. So in an ideal world, the community would create pull requests. The community other community members would review those pull requests, and then we get them finally stamped, approved by the maintainers, that we are then able to scale it.
Yeah, yeah. I think some kind of a pre-approval or initial first look from other maintainers would help to speed up that a bit, because sometimes when I look at pull requests, I sometimes see that they often don't feel that complete. Maybe they are missing, maybe they're providing some solution to a problem, but sometimes the problem is not very well defined. Yeah, and not all aspects of the problem are covered or mentioned, and also sometimes just a test is missing or is let's say or doesn't run properly. In fact, if you retry it, yeah, that's something that we then try out as maintainers sometimes, and then give feedback. Oh, please, could you rebase your code again because there were changes in between that yeah. Make it easy, make it harder to review it and so on, and yeah, but that's always a tough thing to stay in the loop there. And as we all know, most of us do open source contributions in their free time. Sometimes that you can do it at work and during the projects, but usually it's in the free time, and that alone expands the cycle and response times a bit. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't do it full time, then yeah, it's something that you do afterwards, after work. And yeah, sometimes the working on open source, or sometimes the reward for working on open source work is more open source work, and yeah, and that doesn't help itself. But yeah, maybe you have another.
Yeah, I mean, for bugs specifically, you could try to reproduce them, because like some bugs that are reported are, well, it's hard to say if it's a valid bug or not, and then if somebody else confirms it's actually there, that would already be helpful. But it's also not the most fun thing to do, probably.
So at least for some of the issues, we get the tag help wanted on the issues, and we're very welcoming pull requests for those. And help wanted can be either doing a pull request or reproducing the issue, because we might not have the infrastructure. And also it helps if you upvote issues or pull requests. So we actually go with all these issues that there are lots. It really helps if you upvote the things that you think are important for you. And we now and then run a report and seeing, okay, what are the most upvoted issues, both in terms of enhancement requests or bugs, and we look at those as well.
So thank you very much. Just to be clear, I'm not asking you for spending more of your time on working, but instead asking what, for example, adding the point of the tests and the well-defined issue that might be fixed with a pull request. I think this might be something we could use also in a community, maybe even with bots or something on GitHub. There's GitHub Actions, there's lots of tooling. Maybe that could be a contribution that we could do that improves the workflow in a way that it takes load off you, so you can see in a pull request is actually in a reviewable state due to having a test, having a well-defined issue that is linked, and so on and so on. So thank you very much.
Yeah. But then to add to this, maybe maybe I will get to this during this year to have more of an educational training in the Keycloak our code, so that we can grow the skills in the community to actually have the skills how to write a test, for example, in the Killian, which is maybe sometimes a bit challenging when you do it the first time.
Okay.
The room is asking for turning the volume up in here. So for me, it feels I'm pretty loud, but the guys on the stage are not that clear.
Okay.
Yeah, given I have too much time from my free time, what would be the best way to getting started with Keycloak development? Where could I start with low-hanging fruits? Where's an easy entry?
Yeah, help wanted issues, basically. Or it's actually a label for good first issue.
Yeah,
right?
well,
So
yeah, help wanted, we use it then more and more often on issues. And then the help wanted might be either please reproduce it or provide a solution. But then it also depends on what you like to work on. So is it, either an issue, maybe even have an issue yourself and you first discuss it on the mailing list, get a bit of traction there or feedback, and then this idea can then go into an issue. You get some upvotes there. Yeah. But it's always for us when we want to see contributions that not only solve a single person's problem, but eventually solve a real need for the community. And if you can make that point by maybe upvotes, this is always a good thing.
I would put one question between from the internet. It's about, are there any plans for an LTS version, like getting support when it comes to CVEs or something like this?
I'd say that's usually a commercial offering. Anybody is free to provide such a commercial offering. Red Hat does that, for those who don't know that yet. Yeah, so for example, if you choose to run on Red Hat build of Keycloak, then you will get support for example, Keycloak 22, even though that 23 and 24 are out already. Maybe other companies are doing similar things. Yeah.
One trend that we've noticed among open source projects and open source business model companies is to publish a public roadmap. So not like a blog post that is then read for many years by people, but a continuously updated roadmap. And one of the things that's constantly asked by people that work for us as well as our customers is, what is the future of Keycloak? And I'm curious whether or not you've evaluated publishing a roadmap that is continuously updated to give community members more insight into what the future plans are.
There is actually sort of something, because on GitHub you see the milestones of the versions, and there you also see the allocation of issues or pull requests to milestones. And at least as far as I see it, we also roughly follow that path, more or less. Sometimes an issue just doesn't get finished, or a pull request doesn't get finished or reviewed properly before the release date is approaching. But the majority does, in fact, or at least in the last few months or so, that somehow calibrated itself a bit to this. And I think this is a somehow good way to see what comes in the next, or what is planned for the next 2-3 versions or so at least, which might help already quite a bit. But from the long-term perspective, what Keycloak will do in the future, yeah, that's maybe a topic for you, or a general thing, because, or at least as I see it, I think that I see getting more and more traction is this ID wallet thing, like support for, we have a talk about verifiable credential support in Keycloak and so on, and there's already quite some community behind that who build solutions in that space and so on, and I think that gets pretty big in the future. And yeah, Keycloak now just received the first building blocks, or the initial building blocks to build solutions on that with Keycloak. And I think that that's something that will grow over time, at least from my point of view.
Looking in the future is always difficult. So when you want to have a glimpse into the future, the Open API working group of Keycloak is a great place to join. How often do they meet?
Once a month,
Once a month, I believe, yeah.
The OAuth secret.
Yeah, the
OAuth special, the OAuth
working.
You said Open API.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, OAuth.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, working group.
The OAuth working group. And when you join this group, you will see what's then probably happening in around WebAuthn and FIDO. All these areas will be probably covered in that working group. And with all the preview features that you see happening, you will have an idea what's then soon become non-preview. At least, well, for some previous things, they have been for preview quite a long time.
Yeah, like token exchange, for instance. I think most of you guys, all folks, are using token exchange at some point, and of course that's been in preview for many years now, and we are currently actually working on getting that out of preview finally, but in order to do so, yeah, we need to understand all the use cases that you're currently having. For that we have a discussion open in the GitHub discussions that collect the use cases, and in the use cases we actually also ask what is missing for you currently, and then we try to collect these ideas and try to align it with what the spec says. And maybe the final version of token exchange will be able to run in a spec compliant mode for once, and in a Keycloak proprietary way for the other features that are currently out there already. Yeah. So yeah, and we need to strike a balance there between supporting standards and supporting what's already there. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Another one from the internet. Are there any plans to enhance the export-import features? More specifically, authentication flows, executions, clients, IDP client mappers, etc.
You need this as a SaaS service, right?
Answer is no.
Coming back to the specification, currently there's the OAuth 2.1 specification in the draft version. Once it becomes a final version, are there already some plans in Keycloak how OAuth 2.1 will be implemented, or will there be some OpenID Connect 1.x, 2. Something?
Yeah. This is actually ongoing work in the OAuth working group that has been formed among the Keycloak community and contributors. And Takashi from Hitachi is currently leading that effort effectively, and he actually has already implemented quite a bunch of those new rules or guidances already in the form of client policies. And that's basically how they will implement it in the end. Like you can later on select a client profile or and enable it with a client policy that enforces OAuth 2.1 semantics among your client configurations and usage. And with that, yeah, you can basically leverage the new features.
I can also add that, like in general, Keycloak needs to support the relevant specifications, right? So it's kind of necessary because otherwise it will become irrelevant at some point. And it's just like to make this distinction, and then, so I guess OAuth 2.1 needs to be supported.
You already mentioned the mailing list, GitHub, projects, issues. So those are pretty much communication channels. What is the preferred way to get in touch, even when I have an idea which could be a feature? Should I make an issue? Should I start a discussion at GitHub? Should I send a mail to the mailing list? What's the right way?
Okay, the way I was told to do it was to create you think about your idea. If you want to create a new feature or improve something, then you create a discussion that follows some format that covers the necessary points to follow up on the discussion, and then you announce it on the Keycloak Dev mailing list and some Slack channels, whatever. But that's the way. You start with a discussion, with a proposal, how to design certain thing or how to solve a certain issue, and that includes the description, what you want to do, the motivation, maybe some alternative that you tried, or what's currently lacking, or what benefits it provides, and so on. And then you announce it in known channels, as I said. And if you know other ways.
Yeah, that's for feature requests. That's the way to go.
Yeah.
If you think it's a bug, you go straight away and open a GitHub issue as a bug.
Sure.
And we now recently added a checkbox if you think it's a regression. So that's something we want to then look even more urgent than all the other bugs. Maybe, but Niko, you and Garth, are you maintaining the discourse? So maybe you want to talk about the discourse as well?
Yes, we are moderators of the discourse forum. And the discourse forum, for those of you who don't know the discourse forum, it's not Discord, it's called Discourse, keycloak.discourse.group. And that's a community forum sponsored by Keycloak, because Discourse platform is not that cheap. That's very expensive in the end of the day. And thank you for this. And thank you for the trust that Garth and me can moderate this community forum. Go there, ask your questions, and I just can say, if you ask your questions in a good manner and with enough information, not just, I tried something and it's not working, that chances are very high that you get an answer, and not only by Garth and me, but there are others, other people with much knowledge who are willing to help. And anything else?
I will say to your question, Felix, it's probably not the place to suggest comprehensive new features, but if you're looking for feedback on an open source project or something like that, where you're looking to get people to use it and try it out and give you early feedback, it's a good place for that.
So, anyone is active on the Reddit Keycloak topic? So I asked some questions there, but it was not that happy path.
I let's say, rarely announce new releases in that channel, and maybe discuss a few things here and there. But I could pay more attention to that, but I'm an avid Reddit user,
There's also the CNCF Slack channel, and you find basically all Keycloak maintainers also on Slack. But but you would probably have more traction in the discourse forum.
Yeah. The problem with the Slack channel is, in fact, that the Keycloak Dev Slack channel gets nowadays flooded with simple questions like, how can I configure a client to do this, and how can I use token exchange, and so on, which makes it barely possible to have dev-related discussions there. Because they just moved on from the Keycloak Slack channel to the Keycloak Dev channel, because they thought, oh, we are also Keycloak developers. So maybe we need some better moderation there, but that's another job that takes time.
Moderation on Slack, is that possible?
Yeah.
All right.
But
Any more questions from the room? The internet again asks about zero downtime deployments. I don't know if there should be anything added to this one. I saw the slides from the morning where you just say wishes.
So yeah, well, I think zero downtime upgrades is a very overloaded term, and it's and people expect it to happen overnight. So once we get active out of the door, I will then try to pull together some of my time, some of my colleagues' time to make it better for seamless upgrades, whatever seamless then means. But it's going to be a gradual approach, and I'll need all your feedback. Then, what would be the first step? What to make it more seamless than it is today? And then entertain ideas one way or the other. So. Please, well, maybe ask a question in this forum if you want to. More for questions about this, how to do upgrades better. Are you more interested in upgrades to be seamless, or is it okay to not be able to downgrade in the first step? So it's how to do like a iterative approach towards that goal. Where should we start? What is then easing most of the pain that you have? And then we can try to build a roadmap from that.
I have a very on-point question. So I'm always wondering about the messages. You're implementing an internal SPI, so I'm just saying, who's not? And people will complain anyhow if they break. So does it really make sense to have this to distinguish between internal SPI and public SPI, because everybody uses internal ones, and you will get issues if they break, and you will. So basically, I don't get this, and wouldn't it be easier to just skip that to some extent?
Yeah, I see your point. Thank you. Thank you for making this point. So should we, at some point, we say these are public APIs, and for these public APIs, we say promise. Should I say promise? We promise not to break them from one major release to another major release by offering maybe some deprecated methods, and then removing all the release after. But then if you could also open a pull request or saying, let's make this SPI public and want to make it stable because so many people are using it. Should we do a user survey of the most used APIs and make them more stable as they are today?
Some additional info to that. In the private SPIs, there's something like the event listener, which hasn't changed in the last 9 years, I guess. There's something like the authenticator, which is heavily used, and in the public SPI, there's the user storage SPI, and I think the user storage SPI has changed in the last 2 years heavily.
Now and then,
and it will change again. Just my 2 cents to that. Okay. Just make it all public. Don't determine some SPIs which are mostly used and make it public on some private. Make it just all public. Make it regularly usable.
All right.
Because they are, depending on the use case, all used.
Okay. So okay, I hear you, and we should probably then move some of the SPI as well. We have this box. You can, if you write down the name of the API you want to have public and it's now private, put it on a piece of paper and put it in the box over there with postcards. Yeah, don't use postcards for that because they're for sending away. Use a plain piece of paper. Thank you. And I will also take that note if we then change any private SPIs that we also follow the deprecation process as well, like adding new methods. Yeah, I'll take that to the other maintainers as well and the other people working there. Thank you for sharing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if there are no further questions, I would say thank you very much for asking all these hot and on-point questions. Nice to have you.
Thank you.